market situation, whenever there is a buyer who buys something, there is a seller. Now, each one of them thinks that they are doing the right thing. And they not only this, they also think that they do have a very valid strategy in place for same. Most people feel that if we are in the market and if we want to make money, then we should know the right time to enter and exit. Now, this is very easier said than done. It is easy to say like this, that when to enter and when to exit, but who knows the correct time to enter? So friends, I'm Anupama Bhargav, and today I'm going to talk about this very, very important topic of the right time to enter or exit the market. So sit tight as I share my screen with you and I talk about a few very interesting things in the markets and what one must do for future. So just give me half a second till I share my screen with you. All right, here we are, and here we go. Okay, so before going further, let's talk about what has happened in the last week. On Thursday, Russia declared war on Ukraine. As a result, the financial markets all over the world turned red. And in our own very Sensex, there was a fall of almost 2,600 points, bringing a lot of doom to the investors' minds. A lot of investors got worried. They felt that, oh my God, it has now fallen. अब क्या होगा? So काफी सारे investors ने ये सोचा कि अब ये सही समय, इससे पहले ये और गिरे तो हम इसमें से निकल जाते हैं. हमने कई investors को समझाया कि नहीं, अभी wait करिए. We should wait and watch. Very next day on Friday, the markets climbed over almost 2%, and the Sensex rose. Again, most of the investors were happy and all right, things seem to be settling down. So the volatility in the markets will continue to happen. It does not need a reason. Let's rewind back a little more back in the past. In March 2020, the financial markets after COVID fell almost 30%. Again, people called it a black swan event. And a black swan is something which is unprecedented and has a very, very major action on the markets. And it is possibly a rare event. Many investors panicked, went out of these stock markets at losses. In less than a year, the recovery was there, and the recovery was more than 100%. And then again, there was euphoria. This recovery was short and crisp. Till the next bad news came on the block. That was another strain of COVID when it struck. Again, the markets went down. The whole past year has been volatile, and we all have been witness to it. So mostly the markets went down and then went up, but mostly they remained up. Now, amongst all this volatility, the confusion and the uncertainty is pretty common. What is not common is the investor sentiments or the investor behavior. So the reason could be anything. This time it is the war, and I hope it ends soon because it is not good for any of us. But the other reason which also could rock a moody market are, like for example, the rising crude prices. Now in the last few weeks, the crude prices touched almost $100 per barrel, which means inflation for Indian economy, the inflation is also now forecasted to be about 6.1%, and the CAD is also likely to go down. So if the current account deficit is also going to rise on the back of more foreign currency going out, then definitely the market is going to get disturbed. Then there is another threat of one more variant of corona has already started doing rounds in the Europe. And we are worried that it might strike us. Apart from that, many other reasons like the Fed like tightening the policy rates or any other reason could actually rock the markets. So an investor feels that if this is going to happen, then we should know the correct time to enter or exit. And then maybe we can, have less pain. And this is a very valid point. Why not? All along our childhood, we have learned that the selling price minus the cost price is the profit. So if we could manage to buy low and sell high, then it is but obvious that we'll have higher profits. And an investor is looking for wealth creation through profits. So if they're asking this point of enter or exit, then it's a very, very valid point. And this is what we are going to be discussing today. Now, before going further, let's talk about, has this happened before? Because we can only learn from our past. In the past, if you go back in the last 30 years, we can see, I've just taken a data of the last 30 years, we can see that there were 4 major crashes. And after each crash, the recovery level was sharper, was maybe not swift in some cases, but definitely it never lasted more than 1.5 years or 2 years in any go. Now, any of these times, what is clear is that the recovery was there and people made money. So it reiterates that if we were to know that this is the right time to enter, and if we were just got to like move out when it is about to crash, then things would be much more favorable for us. Is it possible? I came across this very interesting quote by Madam Venita Van Kaspel. She says the most important ingredient for success in the stock market is a sharp sense of timing. Now I asked, is it possible? Well, friends, the good news is yes, it's very much possible. For the ones who are the non-believers, you would say, oh, no, not possible. ऐसा नहीं हो सकता. लेकिन देखते हैं कैसे हो सकता है. अब इसको करने के लिए, what a person needs to do is know a few markers which indicate when to enter or exit. Now, there are a number of these, fancy sounding terms which I've listed here. The first one is the P, or the price to earnings ratio, which simply means the price, the market price of a share in response to the profit that it earns over its price. So or the earnings that it is making. So the higher the earnings, the more the profit. So obviously an investor would rather like to invest into a product which has got a potential to give higher earnings. Let us assume that a share of a XYZ company is trading at a rupees 10 cost, and the profit that it is given is 1. So the P ratio in this case would be 10 divided by 1, or 10. So the higher the PE, the more expensive a market seems. So obviously the investor would want it to buy at a lower PE. So whenever you are buying, it should be at a lower PE, and when you are selling, it could be at a higher PE. Now, what is this range? The range is between 16 to 24. Currently, the market PE is trading as about 22.84. The next marker is the PB, or the price to book value. Now, this is the price of a particular company share in response to its over the book value. And here the range is between, the range should also be lower, because if it is lower, then the stock is undervalued and it is a good proposition for you to make money. और अगर वो ऊपर है, तो उस केस में आपका प्रॉफिट होने का चांसेस कम है, क्योंकि वो पर्टिकुलर स्टॉक ऑलरेडी ओवरवैल्यूड है. तो हमें ये समझना पड़ेगा कि कौन सी जगह में या कौन से स्टेटस पे हमें एक अच्छा प्राइस मिलता है, तभी तो उसके ऊपर एक अपसाइड की ग्रोथ की चांसेस होती हैं. The third marker is dividend yield. That is what a company gives dividend in a particular year in comparison to the profits that it is making. So here, the higher the dividend that a company pays, the better the stock is, because that is how much you have a chance of making profits for yourself. So in this case, the range is between about 1 to 4. The third option would be the FI movements. Now, this is more easier to track, because whenever we open the TVs today, one can see that they are talking about the FI movement, that they have pulled out so much money, they have pushed in so much money. And this is also a very good marker for knowing that what is the future of the market. Now, any of these markers, although they are markers, but they are definitely not sacrosanct. There are situations where they may not work true. Now, these are just guidelines. There are many other factors to it, जिसको हमें देखना चाहिए. तो सिर्फ ये कहना कि पी जो है वो अभी कम हो गया है तो हम पैसे अंदर डाल देते हैं, या प्राइस टू बुक वैल्यू अभी अंडर वैल्यू लग रही है तो हम खरीद लेते हैं, तो ये एक तरीके से सही मार्कर नहीं होगा. इसके अलावा एक और प्रॉब्लम है. वो प्रॉब्लम ये है कि ये सारी चीजें हर रोज चेंज होती हैं, और हर रोज चेंज होने का मतलब है कि आपको इसके ऊपर एक स्ट्रॉन्ग टैब रखना पड़ता है, आपको मार्केट के अंदर इन्वॉल्व होना पड़ता है. और अगर आप इन्वॉल्व नहीं हैं, तो फिर शायद ये आपके लिए ये सारी चीजों को समझना और इतने सारे फैक्टर्स को समझना थोड़ा मुश्किल हो जाता है. हम में से जो ऐसे लोग हैं जो ट्रेड करते हैं, जो एवरी डे इंट्राडे करते हैं या इंटरडे करते हैं, खरीदते बेचते हैं, उनके लिए बहुत नेसेसरी है कि वो इन सब चीजों को देखकर देन दे एंटर, because otherwise they will lose money only to taxes or to brokerages also. हम में से वो लोग जो इन्वेस्टर्स हैं वो लॉन्ग टर्म के लिए इन्वेस्ट करते हैं, उसके बारे में थोड़ी देर से मैं बात करती हूँ। अब हाउ डू मोस्ट इन्वेस्टर्स बिहेव? उनको तो ये सारी चीजों का एक्सेस नहीं होता है. मोस्ट ऑफ द इन्वेस्टर्स डू नॉट हैव एक्सेस टू ऑल दीज थिंग्स. हाउ डू दे बिहेव? Well, this is what happens. So when the emotions are driving investments, obviously the results are not too good. So let us assume that an investor starts out here. When the market is going up, he feels euphoric. Oh, great, मेरे stocks जो है या मेरी investment जो है बहुत अच्छे return दे रही है. फिर धीरे धीरे, क्योंकि मार्केट का तो ये मूड है, वो तो ऊपर नीचे तो होएगा ही होएगा. तो जब वो मार्केट जो है ऊपर से नीचे गिरने लगता है, और तब होता है लोगों में थोड़ा सा टेंशन का माहौल शुरू, एंड मूड थोड़ा खराब हो जाता है. एंड दैट इज द टाइम व्हेन वी स्टार्ट गेटिंग अ लिटिल जिटरी. बाय द टाइम इट कम्स टू द पार वैल्यू जो अभी हो रहा है, कुछ लोग जिन्होंने पिछले साल इन्वेस्ट किया था उनकी वैल्यूज अभी पार पे आ गई हैं. तो वो ये कह रहे हैं कि अरे यार, अभी तक तो ठीक था, इतने सारे मेरे प्रॉफिट थे, सारे तो वाइप आउट हो गए. सो थोड़ा सा मूड और गुस्सा आता है, और बाय द टाइम वी रीच हियर, दिस इज द पॉइंट ऑफ मैक्सिमम फियर. एंड हियर मोस्ट ऑफ द इन्वेस्टर्स आर रेडी टू सेल. नाउ सी वेयर इट इज ऑलरेडी फॉलन डाउन. अगर आप इस लेवल पे बेचेंगे, ऑब्वियस बात है आप जो है लॉस होएगा. और कई इन्वेस्टर्स यहाँ पे या यहाँ पे या यहाँ पे खरीदते हैं. तो जब वो खरीदते हैं तो ऑब्वियस बात है जब मार्केट नीचे जाएगा तो लॉस तो होएगा ही होएगा. सो इसको एक पिंच ऑफ सॉल्ट की तरह लेना चाहिए और एक सोचना चाहिए कि ये तो होने ही वाला है. और होता क्या है, अगर यहाँ पे इन्वेस्टर है तो जो थोड़े डरते हैं वो निकल जाएंगे. लेकिन who are a little more stronger, like brave hearted, they might continue, but they make a resolve in their mind कि भाई जैसे ही ऊपर जाएगा मैं तो निकल जाऊंगा. तो फिर यही होता है, यहाँ तक आते आते वो वापस बाहर, जो ब्रेव हार्ट्स हैं वो भी निकलने की कोशिश करने लगते हैं और सोचने लगते हैं. सो क्वेश्चंस फ्लाई फास्ट एंड थिक कि शुड वी नाउ एग्जिट और शुड वी एंटर. एंड दिस साइकिल कंटिन्यूज टिल अ पर्सन बिकम्स ब्रोक. So what we have to, if we cannot do this, if we cannot time the market, if we do not have the know-how or the emotions to actually time the market, then what should you do? Well, the next best thing is obviously timing, giving the timing to the market. As the saying says, timing the market is a fool's game, whereas time in the market is your greatest natural advantage. Now many of us are busy in our daily lives. हमारे पास टाइम नहीं है कि हम ये सब चीजों को फैक्टर इन करें. इसलिए तो उन लोगों को क्या करना चाहिए? Now 2 reasons why you should give time to the market. One, the Sensex itself. In the last 30 years, if you see, the Sensex has got an upward one directional movement. If somebody had invested rupees 100 at the inception, today the value would be about 4 crore. That means he did nothing. He just sat over that 100 rupees और वो मार्केट ऊपर गया, नीचे गया, सब कुछ हुआ यहाँ पे. इसी में सब प्राइम प्राइसेस हुआ, इसी में हर्षद मेहता हुआ, और इसी में और वो सारी चीजें हुई जो हम ब्लैक स्वॉन इवेंट्स कहते हैं. लेकिन ये वाला इन्वेस्टर थोड़ा स्टेबल डटा रहा, और ये हुआ एट द एंड ऑफ इट ही हैज जनरेटेड सम गुड वेल्थ फॉर हिमसेल्फ. सो दिस इज रीजन नंबर 1. Agar, if we are not so experienced and we still want to make money out of the stock markets, then it is better to take the mutual fund route, because here आपकी रिस्क जो है वो थोड़ी डाइवर्सिफाइड होती है और आपको एक्सेस होता है कुछ बेटर एडवाइजरी और एक्सपर्टीज का. तो अगर हम म्यूचुअल फंड की बात करें तो मैंने एक एग्जांपल लिया. मैंने एक पीरियड लिया जब कोविड हुआ था, ज्यादा दूर नहीं, वी वेंट जस्ट टू आफ्टर March 20. And we thought that a person is investing 5,000 rupees SIP in a leading mutual fund. और वो स्टार्ट डेट थी, वो थोड़े से बहुत स्ट्रॉन्ग हार्टेड थे, और उन्होंने जैसे ही मार्केट नीचे गया, he timed it. And he said, okay, this is the right time to now enter. So he entered. In April 2020, he started investing 5,000 rupees. Today, the value would be about 1,15,000 investment amount, which has grown to about 1,50,000. So a compounded annual growth rate of about 30%. These were the brave hearts, right? But everybody is not so strong-hearted. What happens to the others? The other also, possibly he did not start. He waited that, my God, I don't want to enter right now. Let the market go up a little bit. He was waiting on the sidelines. और उन्होंने बोला कि नहीं, अभी मैं अपनी SIP को शुरू नहीं करूंगा, मैं जब मार्केट थोड़ा सा ऊपर आ जाएगा तो मैं करूंगा. So they were the fearful ones. इन्होंने जो है दिसंबर में जब मार्केट थोड़ा ऊपर चला गया, जब रिकवरी हो गई, तो इन्होंने फिर से 5,000 रुपीज की SIP शुरू करी. एंड टुडे हिज गेन इज अबाउट 24.5%. almost 5% lower than the first case. But this is not a situation where everybody knows where to enter. Now there are people जिनको पता नहीं है कि कब enter करो और कब exit करो. So let's talk about those people जिन्होंने दिसंबर 2019 से SIP कर रहे थे 5,000 की, और उन्होंने अप्रैल मार्च वाला फॉल देखा, उन्होंने दिसंबर वाला गेन भी देखा, उन्होंने करंट वैल्यू भी देखा, और उन्होंने अभी अपनी इन्वेस्टमेंट को कंटिन्यू रखा. तो ये थे कंसिस्टेंट इन्वेस्टर्स, और इस केस में उनकी वैल्यू जो है, उनका जो CAGR है वो तकरीबन 25% रहा. So this illustration very clearly brings out that anyone who has got the guts to enter when the chips are down, when the markets are down, they are going to gain the maximum. But then the problem is, we do not know, is this the right time? Do we have that much courage? When everybody is saying everything is red, do we have that courage? ज्यादातर इन्वेस्टर्स जो हैं वो तब एंटर कर रहे होते हैं जब एक्चुअली द प्रोफेशनल्स आर एग्जिटिंग आउट एंड वाइस वर्सा. तो बेटर है कि हम कंसिस्टेंट रहें, और कंसिस्टेंट रहने में वी विल नॉट लूज आउट ऑन एन अपॉर्चुनिटी एंड वी कैन कंटिन्यू टू ग्रो आवर मनी. हैविंग सेड दैट, करें कैसे? लाइक हमने डिसाइड कर लिया कि ओके वी विल बी कंसिस्टेंट. नाउ व्हाट आर द अदर थिंग्स वी कैन कीप इन माइंड? These are three very, very important strategies or things that I'm going to discuss, talk about you. So please pay attention. पहली चीज है कि to start anything, the choice, the start point should be good. So choose a good stock or a good mutual fund. So how do you choose a good stock or a fund? You cannot choose it just by the price it is trading at, or by the name of it, or by just Googling it. The best thing is to go and look at the fundamentals and the technicals of a particular stock or a mutual fund. Everything is available on the net today, or you can talk to your advisor. The second thing is that you must see is that, is it suitable to your requirements? If you do not have the risk profile, then you should not go for a higher risk stock or a fund. Then you should stick to more stable ones. The second thing is asset allocation. I never have enough emphasis on this. I continue to keep on giving emphasis on this important point, is the asset allocation. Never put your eggs into one basket, distribute it. So if one asset goes down, the other asset will make up for it. The third most important, which people overlook, half the people would not be able to select a good stock. The other half would select a good stock, but will not be able to rebalance it. Now, what are these rebalance strategies and what are the criteria? I will just share with you quickly. Number one, rebalance strategy. See, I said that you should have an asset allocation. तो अगर आपने डेट और इक्विटी में कुछ पैसे डाले हुए हैं, तो जब मार्केट ऊपर जाएगा तो क्या होगा? इक्विटी ऑब्वियसली ऊपर चला जाएगा. तो जब इक्विटी ऊपर जाएगा तो आपका एसेट एलोकेशन का जो बैलेंस है वो डिस्टर्ब हो जाएगा. That means your portfolio has become more risky. So if it has become more risky, a normal investor would have the greed to continue to stay on, क्योंकि मार्केट तो अभी ऊपर जा रहा है. And since we do not know कि वो कब नीचे आएगा, तो हम उसको पकड़ के बैठे रहते हैं. So assuming that you started with 50-50, but now you are at 75-25 in favor of equity, तो मार्केट अगर गिरेगा तो आपका रिस्क उतना ही ज्यादा हो जाएगा. तो आपको रीबैलेंस करना है. रीबैलेंस ये करना है कि थोड़ा इक्विटी को बेच के, थोड़ा स्ट्रॉन्ग हार्टेड होके इक्विटी को बेच के डेट की तरफ उसको ले आना है. दूसरी चीज है वाइस वर्सा, अगर आपका मार्केट नीचे गिरा है तो आपको और इक्विटी को खरीदना है. ना इसके लिए चाहिए होता है थोड़ा जिगर, और या आपको डिसिप्लिन चाहिए. So ऐसे केस में what you can do is that whenever the strategy, whenever it is getting disturbed, please try to stick to that asset allocation. So this is called a strategic asset allocation. The second asset allocation technique is tactical. Tactical means market हमेशा एक सा नहीं चलता. It is dynamic. It keeps changing. So whenever there is a black swan event, or whenever there is something like this war which has happened, then you should, if you are aware of it and you are dynamically managing it, you can tactically take calls. Like what we did for our investors, that when the markets went down, in this last few times, we actually pushed in more money to those people जिनका इक्विटी की ज्यादा जरूरत थी उनके पोर्टफोलियो में. और हम जब STPs लगाए हुए थे, तो उन STPs में हमने ज्यादा पोर्शन, 20-25% of their portfolio, we started shifting to equity. This is called a tactical asset allocation. So also it could be a mixture of both of these. Now that is up to you or to your advisor, that how your portfolio is being managed. So for all those people who feel कि नहीं हमें सिर्फ नो हाउ पे कर लेना चाहिए, सब लोग बोल रहे हैं कि मार्केट ऊपर चढ़ गया है तो आप प्रॉफिट को बुक कर लो, या सब लोग बोल रहे हैं कि मार्केट नीचे गिर गया है तो अब निकल जाओ या और डाल दो, there is a strategy to it. There is a discipline to it. So you must know how to do it. Okay. So to summarize, are there any entry points? Okay, the entry point is whenever you have the surplus and the inclination, it's a good time to enter. Since I do not know what is the good time or the bad time, I think whenever we have the surplus, we should enter. But we should enter through SIPs or STPs. That means we should stagger. And if we are investing into stock, if you are sitting on cash और हमारे पास कुछ पैसा है इन्वेस्ट करने को, तो हम उसका 20% या 15% या 25% जो हमें ठीक लगता है उतना पोर्शन स्टॉक्स के अंदर डालते जा सकते हैं. लेकिन रिमेंबर टू चूज द स्टॉक केयरफुली. We need to manage our fear of missing out. Now, many people will take out money from their FDs and put it into IPOs. कई क्वेश्चन अभी उठने लगे हैं कि LIC के IPO में इन्वेस्ट करना चाहिए कि नहीं करना चाहिए. वो वाली बात हम थोड़ी बाद में करेंगे. इसी तरीके से कुछ लोग ऐसे भी हैं कि उनके फ्रेंड्स ने पैसे बनाए तो उनको भी लगता है कि नहीं मार्केट में हमें सो एंड सो स्टॉक को पकड़ लेना चाहिए. इस चीज को हमें मैनेज करना पड़ेगा, तभी हम एंट्री पॉइंट को ठीक से मैनेज कर सकेंगे. एग्जिट पॉइंट्स क्या होने चाहिए? समराइज. पहली चीज आपके फाइनेंशियल गोल्स. अगर आपका कोई ऐसा फाइनेंशियल गोल है जो पास आने वाला है, तो अगर आप इक्विटी में इन्वेस्टेड हैं और अगर इवन इफ द इक्विटी मार्केट्स आर डूइंग एक्सट्रीमली वेल, आई थिंक यू शुड स्टार्ट शिफ्टिंग इट टू डेट एंड वेट for the goal to come so that you do not have a chance of further loss. So अगर कोई financial goal है तो आपको exit करना चाहिए even if it is giving good returns. अब exit किससे करना चाहिए, कैसे करना चाहिए? आप उन वाले म्यूचुअल फंड या स्टॉक्स को निकाल सकते हैं जो आपका एज आई से स्ट्रेटेजिक और टैक्टिकल एसेट एलोकेशन के हिसाब से थोड़े हैवी हो गए हैं या लो हो गए हैं. ये एक अपॉर्चुनिटी, ऐसी भी एग्जिट पॉइंट ये भी होता है जब आप अपने नॉन परफॉर्मर्स को निकाल सकते हैं. तो जो भी नॉन परफॉर्मर है उसको पकड़ के बैठने की जरूरत नहीं है. It is rather a good opportunity to get rid of them, because something which does not do well in a high market is not going to do well even in future. So if it is fundamentally weak, it's better to get rid of it. Most important point, do manage your taxes. Many people keep getting out of the markets and they forget, or they buy and sell, they forget the capital gain aspect. So if you factor in the capital gain, then possibly your gains would be much lower. So these were the exit and the entry points. The question now comes, why should you not time the markets? For mainly 3 reasons. 1, it's an emotional roller coaster. Very difficult to manage your emotions if you're not disciplined, if you're not regular. So if you're emotionally strong and you understand the markets, then yes, you should time the market. But if not, for majority of us, it's better rather to give time to the market. Second is it's expensive, as I've already spoken about it. And the third, none of us have a crystal ball. Many investors come to me and ask, okay, madam, tell me what is going to happen next? कल क्या होगा? तो कल क्या होगा बताना बहुत मुश्किल है. मेरे लिए नहीं, even biggest market gurus के लिए बताना बहुत मुश्किल है. लेकिन हम क्या कर सकते हैं कि there is a trend, and by reading various factors which I just brought about, we can predict to some extent the trend, but I can't predict exactly क्या होगा tomorrow. I can predict that okay, there's an upward trend or a downward trend, and still I may be wrong. So crystal ball किसी के पास नहीं है, इसीलिए बहुत जरूरी है कि ये वाली चीजें जो मैं बात कर रही हूँ, इन फैक्टर्स को ध्यान में रखा जाए. In the end, I would just like to say that the stock market is designed to transfer money from the active to the patient. This is what the investment guru Warren Buffett says. So be patient. The market always rewards the people who are patient about it. So one must go and try and only be patient, pick up good stocks, stay invested. I will leave you with this final advice. If you have any questions, then you please post them to us. We would love to answer you. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I keep posting a lot of content like this. I may not come very often on YouTube, on Facebook Live, but I do post a lot of content on YouTube. Do follow us on my Facebook page, which is where you are already on live. And in case if you have any other question or any other aspect that you would like me to address, I would be very happy to do that. So guys, take care, be safe. Let's pray that all the Ukrainians are safe and the war ends soon. Take care and stay invested for very long.